Hi, it's Joy, and I'm going to be watching House of the Dragon, Season 2, Episode 5, Regent. I am so excited for another episode of this show. A reminder that, as always, you can find the unedited version of this reaction on my Patreon. Now, the name Regent does suggest that something, I mean, we know something happened to Aegon, but he could be dead, but he could also just be severely injured and need a regent. But, yeah, it doesn't answer my question of if he died or not. I feel like that would be not too easy a death for him, but maybe he will linger on a little bit longer, narratively speaking, but who knows. But yes, we're going to have a regent for him, I assume, and things are... The dragons have been used, nothing will ever be the same again. I'm stressed, let's go. Quick note that I just realised I didn't say, it's really hot today and I just needed to put my fan on. I don't think I've tested it. I've done a different reaction, then I listened through to that reaction and I've tested it, and I don't think you can really hear it. I don't think it makes a problem, but if it does, let me know and I can try and do something different in the future. Let's go. Yep. Never see her again. You didn't really listen to her that much in the last couple days. And all this fighting for the woman who you think killed your son. But he's lost both of his children, as far as he knows, and his wife, and one of his adopted grandchildren. First casualty Rhaenyra will feel in terms of like battle fighting, because Luke didn't really count as a battle fight, if those words even make sense. We're seeing how it devastates ordinary people.
Strange victory, if it was one.
Nobody won today.
Thought the dragons was gods.
You would think these dragons and their riders are undefeatable. Poor Mealy, she didn't have a choice. Honestly, Mum, I did everything I could to protect my brother, I promise. I definitely wasn't coming at him with the sword. Is that how they're sneaking Aegon in? Like, I never know whether to say Aegon or Aegon. Like, he's in there to hide his injuries. I love that wall sconce. Oh my god, sorry. Not the time. Is he dead? And they're covering that up for now. So we need a regent because he's dead. Yep.
His grace remains with us.
Okay. We need a regent because he's injured. Severely burnt. He could very easily get infected and die if the wounds on their own don't hurt him enough to kill him. How do you feel? He was your bully and your tormentor. You got everything you wanted without wanting it himself.
We'll have to rule in his stead.
Yep.
The king. Sir Kristen, what befell him?
His grace fought valiantly.
She needs to know the truth. You know the truth.
After some marital spat.
They would never speak to a man like this.
My loyalty to you is proven, my queen.
Your loyalty, perhaps. But
Your
your willingness
respect.
to give me deference
It is merely that the gentler sex, heretofore, has not been much privy to the strategies of battle or their execution.
See, even her own people look down on her because of the patriarchy. Like, Serious needed to have her there as his right hand, as his literal hand. I mean, not his literal hand, his hand. You know, doing that, being there for the day-to-day orders and strategies. Like, yes, the realm was at peace, so she wouldn't have known about warfare, but she would have been proven just as capable as any man.
There has been peace in our lifetime. You've seen no more battles than I have.
Well said.
Free a name only, they will soon prop up another in its stead. Time is right.
They're ignoring her.
Standing before that, it's out of the question.
What would you have me do?
I mean, you're just saying that, oh, we'll find out if Aegon's dead, they'll prop up someone else. Well, if she dies, prop up someone else. Like, the same thing. Obviously, we don't want her to die. And with her next heir, there is the bastard claims that would make even less illegitimate than she is, even though, like, she is legitimate, but you know what I mean by, like, the arguments against them.
With Daemon, Rhaenys is fallen. He must affirm his loyalty to my mother and report his standing.
Someone should probably go to Damon. But
When the queen herself could not.
his daughter might be a good bet.
You are the succession.
Then I must be seen to act for her claim and mine.
I mean, it's not like he's the only heir she has.
Sit still no
If
longer.
the succession's the problem, but she needs to protect him. In the same way that she's
Must act.
angry at the council protecting her.
Or your house burns.
I would sooner be the lord of bones and cinders than bend my knee before some heathen Blackwood cunt. And his hired dragon.
Like, bringing the Blackwoods
Out of the deepest of the seven hells, your grace.
was not the best move here.
To oblige them and
But alas, not an answer.
Like, obviously he's trying to intimidate them with a dragon, but at the very least, if they're... I know that the Blackwoods are the only people that have really responded to him, but bringing them there, their pride. Like, you know how pride works. You have an abundance of it.
We choose fire.
You might literally be choosing it right now.
They would be so eager to die.
You brought their literal worst enemy, Damon.
Indulge them. I need them. There are things the crown itself must not be seen to do.
Oh,
Show them your worst.
Damon.
I am your servant, your grace.
It's been a while since he wore crimes, so...
Oh, they would make me queen, but they wish to keep me here, confined.
They betray their own smallness.
In truth, I cannot fault them.
Your father's chosen successor.
They did not prepare me to fight.
He didn't prepare you for anything, my love.
A sword thrust
He
into
should
my
have
hand.
prepared you for everything, and he didn't.
For too long, I have looked to him for strength. If I must be supplicant to my own husband, what does that make me?
Like,
I do not know my part.
it's the fact that he is building his army, he is doing it, and he's still saying he's doing it for her, but the fact that he's not sent a single letter to that effect to them, is he partly considering doing it for himself instead? Like, he's raising this army and then he's going to say, actually, it's for my claim to the throne? Or is he just sulking? Because, like, she needs to know whether he's got 15,000 men, whether he's got 3, like, she needs to know. Or is it because he hasn't succeeded yet, so far he's got, like, the Blackwoods, so he's like, well, I don't want to write back and say, hey, I know I stormed off in a sulk, but I didn't actually do anything. Damon.
Do not underestimate your subjects. They are
Hmm.
1,000 living in the shadow of the Red Keep and forgotten for too long.
They could rise up.
And you think they will turn to me?
To the discontented, rumors are feed.
You're not wrong. Play a game.
There is more than one way to fight a war.
Mm-hmm. They're gonna rise up, the small folk, and I don't blame them. Though, as always, if either one of these claimants had just said, okay, you can have the throne, there wouldn't be a war. Wasn't gonna happen, but...
She snuck into the dragon pit. She knew that place better than any elder. I said she could see in the dark.
That's why she chose to come out through the people and didn't find another exit. Sorry, she's dead, and I do mourn her, because I think she was a fascinating character and a brilliant woman and a sane head, despite killing hundreds of people in this war and everything. But, to what?
My father was
Damon,
Oh good, more Weird Vision time.
finest swordsman.
Who is this? With the hair, I'm like,
Dragon rider.
his mother?
Damon, you were made to wear it.
Is he being, like, manipulated by Alice to try and claim the throne for himself to cause more chaos? Or is it's just his own desires are still that he deserves the crown? That's why he's not sending to Rhaenyra, because he hasn't made a choice either way yet. And who is this person he's sleeping with?
My favorite son.
Yeah! How incestuous is he? First his niece, then his mother. Jesus Christ. Is this Alice or Harrenhal?
Simon,
You know, I'm also like, has anybody else see Alice? Like,
it's a matter of
no one ever speaks to her.
follow.
very well, your grace.
You should address me as my king.
But you're the prince. Consort.
That last bit seems unnecessary, don't you think?
But it is what they do. It's why they call them princes, is because men, patriarchally, were thought they would take power from their wives.
Steel.
Does he want to be king by
His Grace
himself?
suffered grievous burns of... I'm not sure he will ever wake. I have plied my crafts to their fullest extent. Our king's fate.
She suspects so badly that it was Aemond.
I myself served in this role for my husband. I am well prepared to do it again.
You played your part admirably in a time of peace, Your Grace, but circumstances
Little
change.
women can't be used for war.
The obvious choice is his immediate successor, Prince Aemond.
His immediate successor is the Princess Jaehaera.
Aemond is a fearsome dragon rider. His skill is best employed in the field, but my experience is needed here, at this table.
No offense was meant, Your Grace, but...
I mean, she's definitely the better candidate here, but they are never going to choose her. They will give it to hothead Aemond.
Prince Aemond. What would it say if in response to Rhaenyra's crowning we raised up a woman of our own?
The problem is not that she is a woman altogether. The problem is that in patriarchal lines of succession, traditionally, the girls come after boys. So Jaehaera, that is the name of the girl, right?
Kristen, what say you?
Would be the successor of Aegon, not Aemond.
Aemond is the next in line. It must be him.
I watched him kill the king, but like, I think he should follow. What he always wanted. Disgusting as it is, I wouldn't be surprised if he proposed marrying the girl, because then like, when she's old enough, obviously.
It's only a matter of time before he inherits the crown.
You're trying to do everything, you're trying to help, trying to do the right thing.
How I can trust the count and let the gates be closed.
Aemond is the worst possible choice. That is not the correct response to this. And it's painfully obvious to see it.
Go to your task. Someone cut down the fucking rat catchers.
Like, the only good thing, sensible thing he said was cut down the rat catchers.
Were men walking, they were on fire.
Ooh.
We have given the war to the dragons.
It's your idea.
What we must do now is terrible.
Spare the little woman.
Is this who you are, Alison?
Did not ask to be spared.
She would try and do it in a way that wasn't as brutal.
I did not give you leave to speak my name.
This is not how you quiet the populace. This is how you act when you couldn't give a shit about them. Like, I feel like at some point, Daemon is going to mention Alice Rivers, and someone's going to look at him like, who? Or like, she died like 12 years ago. What are you on about? She died in the fire. At least he's getting his hands dirty.
Children being taken from their mothers, men coming home to find their doors unlatched, their wives carried away.
War crimes.
War is a terrible thing.
This is not war.
Mm-hmm.
These are crimes against the innocent.
They will cut you down soon as wish you good day.
I'd heard the same thing about you. But I'll cross you no further. I'm sure your tactics are, after all, approved by the Queen.
Better suited to it, the high towers with their scheming, or Viserys' first true heir. When I take King's Landing,
Honestly?
he's welcome to join me there and take her place by my side.
Yep.
King and Queen. And none of this will be my problem.
Not so loyal to Rhaenyra after all. Oh, fuck. I mean, he knew her biblically last night. Oh, he acknowledged she exists. Or was he just looking at where Aemon was looking? Or Daemon was looking like, there's no one there. I don't know why I have this theory that she's just a ghost, but I do. So Daemon is trying to do this all for himself, but like, he's not going to be like, and then Rhaenyra will be under me. He's like, oh, then we'll rule together. But her claim is better than your claim. Get over it. And also, I actually do think the High Towers, meaning Otto as much as I loathe him, and Alicent, would be better rulers than you, Daemon. Not necessarily than Rhaenyra, but than you?
Even the death of my wife does not content her.
It's war.
I should not ask enough of my house.
I will see Rhaenyra ascend the Iron Throne.
But he does think Rhaenyra killed his son, your uncle.
You yourself may do as you see fit.
She should be made hand. I know she's young and inexperienced, but
Granddaughter.
she has one powerful way with words.
But I will not send a message by Raven for Damon to disregard. I ask you.
Like, could you pretty please send someone else? Damon scares me. Reason, Damon. Please send someone else.
And his intentions.
I mean, she should send Baylor. She's his daughter. Genuinely, like, someone is going to sneak into his room to try and assassinate him, and he's going to be like, it's just another vision.
And I tell you, there is no honor in a fight such as
Honor?
this.
What of common decency?
These beasts proudly carried the banner of House Targaryen.
Yep.
Red dragon on black.
He's like, but no, they were meant to do it. I wasn't meant to.
War is being fought in these lands.
He's, oh no, more visions.
After our girls.
No, he's got no clue where they are right now.
Riverlands are an ancient place, watched closely by the eyes of old gods and new. And dragon or no, we shall not raise our banners for a tyrant.
Good. I mean, I worry about what the repercussions are going to be for them, but good. Damon's methods deserve this. Mirrored positions.
Melinda.
I wondered if we'd see her again. I mean, at this point, it's, do you make Rhaenys' death be for nothing? Or do you support the cause she gave her life for? Your surviving family is all on that side.
Was it worth the price?
Oof. I'm sick of tending to men with half a face.
Do you not mean to use her as an example?
Why shouldn't I?
Oh, it was a long time ago.
I mean, mainly your lack of training would be my main issue.
Your dragon is young. Will you fly before Vhagar as Luke did?
That's why she's keeping you safe, and you know it.
Done all I can from here. Sent my messages, invoked my alliances. But if all else fails, it is I who must fight. Vhagar is big.
They need every dragon they've got.
So was
Also say the histories.
Valyrian histories, written to gild us in glory.
He's not wrong. Have you tried?
You suggest
It's a brilliant idea, but it will, yet again, this entire war will serve to kind of show that dragons can be defeated, get rid of most of the dragons. And I know that they'd be like, this person is a Targaryen really by blood, but it's not a bad idea. It is. Every time it ends, I'm like, no, give me more. Okay, so Aemond is continuing his ascent to power. He's taken it. He is terrible as like, the idea of him as king is terrible at this point. There maybe was a point where he would have grown to be a better king, but as things stand, a king in wartime, hell no. A king in peacetime, probably hell no as well. Now I can understand from a kind of, we need to be ruthless in this war, and Alicent didn't want to kill Rhaenyra. I can understand like kind of not wanting her to be there, but in terms of caring about the small folk and not just willy-nilly committing atrocities, Alicent would be a much better regent. Recalling Otto Hightower would be better than letting Aemond do it. Like, do I like Otto Hightower? No, I despise him. But he would be better than Aemond. Aemond would be a good military strategist. He's shown that much. But as king, fuck no. So that is quite terrible and stressful. And I think it's kind of funny that Rhaenyra has sent her maid to sow distress among the people and make them turn against the Hightower lot of the Targaryens, because they're doing that for themselves. They're doing that by themselves. The war will inevitably do that. War and deprivation. And like, for all that Aemon goes, oh, we're all feeling the strain. Yeah, and I bet you've gone hungry several nights, haven't you? What? What? No? Oh. You know, like, it's very different. And again, it's war. There is a blockade. They are struggling. But there are land routes, surely, in which they could get food. Yes, maybe they normally get food to King's Landing by sea, but get food from the Lannister, the West, my brain cannot think of it, from like the places that have pledged you. Get them to send you grain and food. The farmland near King's Landing. the dragons have yet. It's not like at the moment, oh, the dragons attack anyone who's approaching. Like, you could get food by land. It wouldn't come instantly, but you've got to do something. Make some kind of pledge to the people. Acknowledge, like, this is awful, and we're gonna lower taxes or do something. Like, that is how you treat with this sort of time. And I don't know what Alicent would do. I don't think she's like some mythic magical strategy goddess or anything, but I think she would have had, in hearing that complaint, she would have been more, well, we've got to do something about this, rather than, oh, let's just make the people really angry and lock them inside. I don't think the people could outright kick them. I don't know, I mean, maybe, but I think the second a dragon got involved, the people would be screwed. I don't think the people of King's Landing could necessarily, like, depose Aegon and Aemond and make them flee and be like, hey, Rhaenyra, I want to come get your throne. Maybe that's something that they could do, but I also don't know that with dragons in particular, and if the yellow cloaks and whatnot, gold cloaks, stay loyal to the crown, soldiers and the army, I don't think people would succeed, but they would definitely sow enough chaos that would make it much harder for the Greens to do business, for the Greens to come up with their strategies, and would potentially make it a hell of a lot easier if Rhaenyra's army, if she gets one, were to come knocking at the gates. Keeping your people inside and looked after is very important, which is also something Daemon learned in this episode. But it's fascinating that they're just discounting Aegon's daughter as a potential ruler. She is next in line, whatever they care about. Now, obviously, she is tiny, so she would need a regent either way. And, you know, seeing as we love marrying uncles and nieces, maybe Aemond can marry her. Want to throw up about that, but that would be a good way of shoring up the line. But she is next in line, and that wouldn't invalidate our claim against Rhaenyra, because your claim against Rhaenyra is A, the Viserys changed his mind, but mostly patriarchy. And in patriarchal, oh my god, agnatic, cognatic succession or whatever, it's just all the boys, then the daughters. That is how it works. So if Aegon only has a daughter, she is next. But men don't like giving power to women. And while it was peacetime, and while Otto was there technically also running things and thinking, quite rightly to be honest, that he had Alicent under control, it was all well and good. The Greens definitely had the mastermind strategy for getting the throne, but they weren't counting on Aemond and Aegon being such dicks, which shocks me, to be honest, because who didn't see that coming? In terms of the woman Rhaenyra sent, I actually really love that we're revisiting the servant girl that Aegon raped. I'd like to think the only servant girl that he raped, but yeah. Because also, hopefully, it kind of gives her more agency as a character. Something this show has done a brilliant job of, comparative with Game of Thrones, is there hasn't been such wanton sexual violence. Women aren't being raped and threatened with rape every other episode. You know, we had a victim of rape, but it happened off screen. We didn't have to, we just heard about it and saw the consequences. The only time I think we saw a rape on screen was Alicent, because that was marital rape. She was not consenting. But even then, it was not kind of graphic. It wasn't done it was done more kind of with respect to what she was going through, rather than for like gratuitous violence or whatever, which there were times in Game of Thrones where it was like, oh good, a woman's being raped again, yay. Again, it wasn't the biggest problem of all, but it was. So, but even with that being said, if this girl, is her name Alice, or am I totally, and Alice Rivers, I don't think her name was also Alice. Diana, was her name Diana? I'm calling her Diana, her name might not be Diana. But if she's able to do something to help sow discontent in the capital, to help do something that brings down the Greens, I would actually really like that they are able to give this girl, who's probably traumatized by what she's been through, definitely is traumatized, but like who, you know, lost her job as well as a result of it all. Like, I mean, everything in her life probably went to hell, no doubt, when that happened, quite understandably. Giving her some agency in fighting back, when how many girls who are like serving girls who are raped by king get any kind of agency to do anything about it. I actually quite like that idea as well, and I'm intrigued to see where they go with it. Even if it's just she helps start spreading whispers, I don't care. She's doing something. She has a little bit of that agency back. Is Otto just on a sun lounger in Old Town, like, well, it's all going to shit, but I don't care. Like, obviously Aemond hasn't sent for him, and no one has sent for him. But I kind of feel like if I was him, I would be like, hey guys, real story here about Aegon. Do you want me back? Like, you're a man down, hey. Because he caused this whole mess, and now he's just like, well, I shall leave the city and leave you all to deal with it. Ugh. I mean, Alicent wanting to be regent, I do think makes more sense. She has experience of doing it. And being regent as well, it's not like they have the whole council full of people that she would also listen to, because she does listen to people. And generals, she wouldn't assume she knew what she was doing when it came to the war side of things. She would have just tried to make sure there weren't as many atrocities, but hey-ho. I love the moment where Helena said to Aemond, was it worth it? Like, was the price you paid worth it? Because obviously Aegon is a horrible person. He's a rapist. He's fathered bastards and watches them fight. He led the bullying of his brother. You know, in those early years, it really wasn't Greens versus Blacks with the kids. It was boys versus Aemond. Now, as much as I see so many people pointing out that, like, oh, he hates Luke, that and Luke and Jace, but Aegon started it. It's like, he can't hate. I mean, he can hate Aegon, but until this moment, he couldn't really act on it because Aegon was the elder brother, the heir to the Greens or whatever. Like, he was older than him. He couldn't really lash out at him without getting in severe trouble. I mean, lashing out at Luke and Jace was not exactly something he could do without getting in trouble either. But when war was happening or coming, it was much easier for him. But it's also important to remember that Jace and Luke laughed. Jace and Luke joined in with the bullying. Unless I'm I'm just mainly picturing this as the one time I think we probably saw it was the dragon pit scene. But, like, they didn't kind of go, oh, Aegon, stop it, that's mean. Or didn't sort of laugh and then look at each other like, oh, I'm just laughing because he's, like, scary. You know, they thought it was funny too. They did join in. And I guess it's kind of that when you're young, you do what's easy and safe, and sometimes you kind of, oh, I'm part of the group, not being excluded, etc. Like, I'm not saying I hate them. I think otherwise their characters have been proven to be very good, but it's important to remember he's not totally unjustified in hating them, especially when they took his eye. But he's been wanting this revenge against Aegon for a very long time, and also it puts him next in line. And it's so fascinating to kind of see the juxtaposition of Daemon deciding, I'm king, you're going to call me king, this army, it's my army, and I'm going to go and I'm going to get King's Landing and it's going to be mine, and then maybe, you know, I'll invite Rhaenyra and we can rule as shared equals, because he cannot fathom the idea of her having more power than him. I think he believed he would be okay with it. I think he believed for the longest time he could manage it, but at this point he cannot deal with the idea that this woman, his niece, his wife, would have more power than him, because he must be the all-powerful one. And I do feel, like, vindicated in my opinions of Daemon a little bit. Like, I mean, I love him as a character. Matt Smith is playing him brilliantly, but, like, it's exactly what I thought of him. It's exactly what he's doing. And you can love him and enjoy him, of course you can. I'm not saying you can't, but I definitely had in the first season some people were suggesting, like, Daemon loves Rhaenyra and he would never do anything to go against her. And I was like, okay, cool. Now, when push comes to shove, obviously Rhaenyra hasn't, her council member man, whose name I don't remember, hasn't turned up yet to try and talk. She herself hasn't turned up. I do wonder if he was face to face with her again, would he crumble? Would he be like, oh, but I love you? Like, I don't know what he would do, but he's definitely revealing his true colours and that he cannot cope with this. The idea that all these people are fighting for the throne that he thinks should be his, because he is better than Viserys. Now, obviously, we all know the idea of a monarchy where whoever is born first just gets it and they get to have supreme power is nonsense. Why do we still have a monarchy now? But it's how things are done, and Daemon has no claim. His brother had 5 children who survived, right? Yeah, he had 5 surviving children. Or 3 of whom, because they have them together, have had their own children. Daemon doesn't have a shot at claiming this throne legally. He's gonna do it regardless. Well, he was until he fucked up in the Riverlands. Now, his strategy of, oh, I know that there's this feud between the Brackens and the Blackwoods, so when I want the Blackwoods to, no, the Brackens to kneel to me, I'm gonna turn up with the Blackwoods. Like, there's just no universe where they would submit to you. Their feud that no one really fully understands means more to them than anything. They are not going to stand down to you, especially when the feud has very recently been bloody and violent and brutal. He should have turned up alone on his dragon, with maybe a couple of the Strongs. I know that he doesn't have many other soldiers other than the Blackwoods, because he has a fucking dragon. Needing knights with you suggests you're afraid of them. He should have turned up on his dragon and asked them to swear the oaths. And I don't think they would have said yes, because they would have heard the Blackwoods had joined. Like, I don't think they would have, but the sight of the dragon and being threatened, they might have been more likely to say, yeah, okay, but just make sure we stay away from the Blackwoods. We hate them. You know, having the Blackwoods there is no universe where they were going to easily surrender to them. And so then Daemon's like, hey, go do war crimes for me, but you have to make sure my name isn't attached to the war crimes, okay? And the Blackwoods went, cool, we're just going to carry your banner. Like, so I actually really enjoyed that the River Lords came and they were like, we don't condone this, we don't support this, this is brutality. Forcing people by targeting the innocent is wrong, and we aren't going to ally with you. They showed a lot more conviction than a lot of people do in our current political climate. I actually really respect them for that, because Daemon does have a fucking scary dragon. As they were leaving, he could have jumped on his dragon and burnt them all to death, and then sent letters to their families like, okay, you going to support me now or what? There are no green dragons around. Now, I don't necessarily think that the Riverlanders are going to sign up to Team Green. I think a lot of people are quite rightly just trying to stay the hell out of this fight, because who knows who's going to win at this point, and you don't, it's, what is it worth risking your life over? Is it something I'm thrown? No. But I don't necessarily think they're now all going to pledge to the Greens, but there is a chance Daemon might have pushed them to that point. Now, obviously, the first thing to happen would be for Rhaenyra to find out what happens and publicly disavow Daemon and say he did not act on my behalf. I sent him there to raise an army. I did not send him there to do this. But that also makes her look weak in the sense that she can't control her husband, or at least one of her generals. Like, people within her close circle, they are just going off and doing whatever they want. That doesn't look good. Now, obviously, the exact same thing is true of the Greens with Aemond and with Kristen. Like, they are also out of control, but as always, a woman is judged more harshly than a man in this world. So Daemon war criming and dreaming of sleeping with his mother, who he didn't really know. I mean, it's at least I don't think he fully was conscious it was his mother until after, right? Even though it was quite obvious that from what she was, I don't know. Daemon, in the real world, Daemon would need intensive therapy. I am not 100% convinced Alice Rivers isn't an Ethereal. Don't tell me either way. Like, I believe she exists or did exist, but I'm not convinced she's not like a ghost in Harrenhal, because no one else has spoken to her. The closest that anyone has come to acknowledging her was when Lord Strong, or Simon Strong, like, turned and sort of looked in her direction, but that could easily have been because he'd walked up to Daemon and was speaking to Daemon, and Daemon was looking past him, and so you'd look where he was looking, like, did I miss something? No, because he didn't speak to her. He didn't say, not now, Alice, or leave us alone. So I don't know. But Daemon is losing his marbles, which I assume is Harrenhal. It's cursed. We know there are mystical powers in Game of Thrones. It's not, you know, like, when you make the unfortunate mistake of consuming Philippa Gregory's Tudor books, please don't. They are very bad, very inaccurate. And you've got the Woodvilles doing magic to curse the line of the people that killed the princes. You're like, yeah, okay, magic's real, got ya. But in Game of Thrones, magic is real. There are versions of it. So he is having these weird visions and things. But the interesting thing is that these visions seem to be pushing him to making his own claim. Now, that is where his head was at when he stormed off and when he flew here, so it's probably his own subconscious coming to the fore, but it is interesting that it's pushing him. It's not encouraging him to support Rhaenyra, it's giving him what he wants, which is justification to support himself, but he's also fucked up. He's got the Blackwoods and the Brackens will stab him in the back the first chance they get. That's kind of it at the moment, so I'm intrigued to see where he goes from here. Is he going to come running back to Rhaenyra apologising, or do some kind of atrocity against the rest of the Riverlands until they agree? I don't know. We will see. Rhaenyra definitely struggling with the patriarchy. Yet again, Viserys keeping her so isolated not giving her proper training. Like, when she was young, he had to be the cupbearer on the council so she could observe the council. Like, I get that. But other than that, he literally did nothing to prepare her for being heir. He gave her the prophecy, had her declared his heir, and then was like, people will agree to it. I'm a shit king and no one really cares, so she's a shit queen, who really cares? No, he didn't do anything to prepare her and train her, and I think if she had been more present at his side, making decisions, yes, it was peacetime and not wartime, there still would have been the patriarchal people dismissing her as a woman and all that kind of thing, but it would have been much harder for people to assume she wasn't competent at making difficult decisions, because that's what this boils down to. They don't think women can. I like that in this episode we did see her being a bit more comfortable with delegating, still chafing at it, still wishing she could do it, and I do think the time will come when she will need to fly out on her dragon, because they only have so many, although maybe now they're going to have hundreds. I mean, okay, they have like 2 big dragons, and I don't know how many other ones. Like, maybe they are going to get more, but every dragon is worth it in the fight, and I don't know, can you respect a monarch who was willing to let you die when they wouldn't die for you? When there are other people fighting at the forefront of the battles? I don't know. I mean, probably you could when she's a woman, because you just assume, oh, she's a little woman, she couldn't do it. But seeing her struggle with that and kind of comparing it with Jace struggling with that, but then he just gets to go off and do whatever he wants and really help, but also completely disregard his mother. And then even when she was like, oh, I'm thinking of looking at this warrior queen, isn't she great? And he's like, don't you get any ideas, woman? Like, obviously, my issue with Rhaenyra wanting to emulate Visenya would be that she has no training, and these aren't going to be nice, easy fights. So if she comes down to hand fighting with somebody who is trained, she's not trained. But if she's on her dragon, she's a brilliant dragon rider, so I think that she would sort of be okay in that regard. I don't know. My brain, like, it's been an hour and 22 minutes, so much happened, and I'm like, I haven't talked about half of it, I don't think, but I'm struggling to figure out, like, what I haven't talked about. I think Valerian, my lord, brain fog, his name, Lord Valerian, Lord of the Tides, I know his name. I really hate having brain fog. He was wallowing in his grief. Now, his wife had just died, so I'm not properly hating on him for it, but he's definitely been Corliss. I didn't know his name. He, at this point, needs to decide whether his wife, he wants to make her death mean something or not. Because he was fine with allying with the people who killed his son, hasn't raised a single objection to that at any point. So at this point, it's, do you want Rhaenys to have died for nothing, or do you want to give everything to help Rhaenys' memory not be in vain? I assume he ultimately will help out with Rhaenyra, but he's annoying me this season. He's just whining a lot, and he was whining before Rhaenys died, so like his grief about her is valid, but he's being whiny this season. But kind of in no valid ways. Like, instead of being like, I'm really upset that you allied us to the person that killed our son, he's like, I'm really upset because I don't like our heirs. And it's kind of like, okay, well, they're your grandchildren as much as, if not more than, with one of them, Luke was. They're young, you can mould them to whatever you want. I don't know. We'll see what he does in the next episode. Hopefully it's more useful. I feel like in general, this episode, like the last episode, was huge. It was the battle. It was everything that had been building, coming together and crashing. I mean, it was the midway point. Like, we've crossed the midway point. This episode felt to me more like the pieces, again, kind of the consequences of what had just happened, rumbling through, and then all the pieces slowly stacking up for the next few episodes. Now, maybe the next episode will have more confrontations immediately. We're definitely going to have Rhaenyra looking for other Targaryen descendants to try and claim dragons and whatnot, and more of the kind of rumblings before it all comes together for another huge epic battle in the finale is what I'm picturing. That doesn't mean there won't be other fights and battles and stressful moments and murders and atrocities in the meantime, but this definitely felt like a transitional episode, but not a transitional episode in the way some shows do transitional episodes, where they're pointless mostly, and you're kind of like, oh, that's great, that was more of a waste of an episode. Every scene was relevant and necessary to the character growth and to the realm expansion of the show, but it definitely was a transitional episode, if that makes sense. I feel like this has been a particularly rambly, I don't think it's my best review, I'm very sorry. But again, I think it's kind of the nature of transition episodes to an extent. you're left like just wanting, I just want more. I need more right now. And so my brain is like, yeah, I could talk about what just happened, or I could want more, and I do want more. So I'm going to finish this reaction here. A reminder that you can find the unedited version of this reaction on my Patreon, and thank you so much for watching.